sun was shining, just a few clouds in the sky, and we were meeting at territorial headquarters for our board meeting. It was Tuesday, just an ordinary Tuesday on September 11, 2001. We sat around the board table. Commissioner Joe Nolan, the territorial commander, sat at the head of the table, and I sat as his chief secretary to his left. We started boards at 8 o'clock back then. And then, just about 8:45, Mary Wood came to the door and knocked on the door. Now, this was very unusual. It had to be a matter of life or death to knock on the boardroom door. Unfortunately, it was a matter of life and death. And Mary came in and announced to us all that a plane had gone into the North Tower of the Trade Center. We didn't know what kind of plane then. Everyone thought, as they did around our country, that it was a small plane, tragic as that would have been, that went into the Twin Towers, or went into the North Tower. And then just about 20 minutes later, we heard that the second plane had gone into the tower, and we knew for a fact that the United States was under attack. While it is true we always remember where we were at times like that, and I can remember that boardroom, and that memory is vivid, what is hard to recapture is the feelings we had at that time. Feelings of disbelief. This must not be true. Is this a dream? And then about an hour later, a young lady came in, one of the secretaries, and said the second tower had collapsed. And then after that, the first tower. We had prayer meeting at 1 o'clock that afternoon. Before that time, we were meeting to plan together what the response should be. The divisional staff over in New York, Liberty, 1 block away from the Trade Center, and where there was a canteen that had pulled up in the middle of the night from Pennsylvania. And the officers and soldiers on that canteen welcomed us. The first thing Commissioner Nolan did was have prayer. We had prayer around the canteen. We really didn't know how to pray, but we knew that God was there. And that through the ashes of apparent defeat, God was going to bring his victory. And so we prayed. I walked down Day Street, met there a policeman. We both had our little masks on, which we find out later didn't do much, but that we felt that they were helping. And I looked into his eyes. I can picture him vividly. And he had, his eyes were welled up. He wasn't crying, but they were welled up. And all we did was hug each other. We didn't say much except God bless you after. I went over to a fireman who had just come out of the pit. And I said, can I help you? Can I get anything for you? He said, no. He said, but would you get some water for my buddy over here, who was just laying in obviously in pain? So I ran and we got some water for them. Commissioner Nolan asked if there's another fellow, is there anything we can do for you? He said, the smell is just so terrible. Is there something you can get so we can clear up the smell? And within 12 hours, we had a truckload of nose. What do you call it? Vicks. What? Vicks. Vicks people. Vicks Vapor. Every time I smell it, I think of that moment. The pain of the time started to turn to joy in a very eerie way as we walked those streets. The sirens were blaring. There's the only thing you could hear. Everything else was silent. The smell I will never forget. I remember driving home that night and just coming into the garage, putting everything on the side, looking at Meryl, my wife, and not knowing what to say, because it was as if we had just been in the pit of hell. The joy that started to bubble up from inside was the fact, the resilient truth that God was there. And though man meant it for evil, God turned it into good. And as the days went on, our eyes started to focus not on the pit, but at all the people around the pit. All those working so very, very hard in the name of Christ. We walked around that day. We went over to the fire station, station number 11. They welcomed us in. So many of the men from Station 10, so many of the men from Station 10 had died. And after we ministered there a bit, I walked alone along the side, which would have been on the south side of the South Tower, over to the edge. And right in front of me, a piece of paper came down. I have it here. I grabbed the paper. And as I looked at it, it says Cantor Fitzgerald, 1 World Trade Center. Well, later we found out that Cantor Fitzgerald, of all groups, lost the most people that day. Almost 700 people were on the floors 101 to 105, Cantor Fitzgerald. They were just 2 floors above where the first plane hit. They lost everyone there. And floating in front of me was this letter from Cantor Fitzgerald, who just moments before, a day before for sure, had been on the 101 through 105th floor. Slowly, the pain turned to joy. Deep joy, not celebration by any means, but deep joy. Deep joy in knowing that God is in control. And the scripture verse that I've held on to ever since then is a powerful promise to us today. From Isaiah 43, beginning at the 2nd verse. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. And when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. In the past 10 years, we've proven the power of that text. God, through the ashes of apparent defeat, has brought great victory. And we'll see and hear more about that this afternoon. To God be the glory. He is in control.